Hello and welcome back to our awesome E3 coverage on Life of Gaming. I'm joined here by James on my right, Matt on my left,
You can tell
and
it's
the
late.
bearded wonder in the
You
middle.
can tell who's excited about this conference.
Yeah.
And we just got done with the Sony press conference,
That's right,
gentlemen.
that's right.
Yep, and there's a lot of news to go over, so we'll get right to it. Sony just went all out on the first one here, and
First
it
one.
happened.
Right.
It's
I'm giving you my
finally
review
here.
now. F.
It's finally here, gentlemen. You know what it is. The Last Guardian was finally shown in all its glory. Well, not all its glory. We still don't have a firm release date. It says 2016, which I was hoping that they would have a firm release date set. Well, I mean, what do you guys think about this?
Well, I mean, like we were talking before, it looks like a mix of kind of like Ico and Last Guardian. Like, I'm a bigger fan of Ico.
You mean Icon Last Guardian or you mean Icon Shadow
Or,
Colossus?
not Last Guardian, but Shadows.
It's like a
Shadows
mixture of
yeah.
both. Yeah.
It's like a mixture of Ico and Shadows of the Colossus.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't a big fan of Shadows of the Colossus, but you were, and you never really played Ico, right? So, I mean,
Right.
it kind of feels like it's mixing those two games together.
Yeah. I liked it. As it started, I'd never played Shadow of the Colossus or Ico, and I had a
Yeah.
PS3, so I just never played the Ico collection, or was that what it was called?
Yeah, I think it's
Ico
Ico
collection.
Yep.
Yeah, I never played. That was one that we were all feeling it, whether we have an Xbox or a Sony system at the beginning. We were all like,
You could
"That's a
feel-
good game."
yeah,
Like
you could-
that was a
you could
great
feel
start.
It
And
was
it-
real.
I wanted to see combat, and Josh, you said you want to see a little combat too.
sure.
Yeah.
But for what we saw, it was really cool. It looks like it's very much focused on the interaction with the dog bird thing.
Yeah. And you could they melded both of Ico and Shadow of Colossus. Like he was climbing on the back of the beast, and I mean, it didn't really. It seems still like it's a long ways away. I was hoping that it just say, "Hey, it's coming out at the end of this year."
Didn't
you
they
know,
say 2016?
Yeah, it did.
it did
But
say
I
2016.
feel like it's going to be more toward Ico, where it's more like puzzle solving, things like that.
Yeah.
Versus Shadows of the Colossus, where it's mostly battles. I think it's going to be much more puzzle solving, like when he was pushing that
Oh,
block
yeah.
off the edge, and he was, the bird was helping him, stuff like that.
That world though, that feels more like it would be a mixture. Like that world, the way it just seemed with the destructive environment and the way you're with the dog bird, that can't lack combat. Like that's gonna have
Well,
combat
I mean,
with.
even Ico, you fought like shadow people.
Yeah, but I think this
yeah,
you're actually gonna
exactly.
fight like bigger things.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
probably just have your bird fight him.
One thing we can all agree on is it looked beautiful.
It did look very pretty.
Did it
the
look
character
10 years beautiful? How long it's been developed?
Yeah, it didn't look
That
like
is
that
true.
much different. Yeah,
It
but
did-
it
I-
looks pretty.
Because honestly, when it started, I honestly thought it was not a joke, but I thought it was like the same trailer they showed us like 10 years
It
ago on
started
PSP.
out that
Because
way.
it looked exactly the same. The graphics look, I mean, they look cleaner and prettier. It has almost like a hand-drawn look to it. Like it's pretty
And-
cool, but it looked almost exactly like the PS3 version.
I am sure though, like it's hard to completely remember. I'm sure that things like draw distance and details at a distance
Of
were
course,
much
if
better.
we go back and watch the PS3 version, it probably looks like
Yeah, it probably looks way
yeah.
better, but it didn't feel totally like it was 10 years better initially. It felt pretty, but we saw prettier things in this conference. For sure.
Yeah.
Moving on, the next game. Wow. That's all I gotta say about this because this was totally unexpected. Guerrilla
Yeah.
finally came out with the
Yes.
game they wanted to, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes. And I mean, I've always said I'm waiting for that one PS4 game that makes me say I want a PS4, and I feel like after I saw that, I may have found one.
Yeah.
Because that's the first game where I'm like, I am missing out. For not having a PS4, I am missing out. And that's the first game I felt that way about. And you add on top of that, like Ratchet and Clank and, Until Dawn, like all these other PS4 exclusives coming out. And it's becoming a very strong pull on me to say, get a PS4.
It's taken them a while, but that particular game, that one, like those two to start off, I was thinking
that was
like
hype.
there was nothing going to compete the whole ways. I don't think it ended quite that way, but like those two games to start off, that game was like, of all new IPs I've seen today, that was the coolest looking.
Sure.
I'm still very intrigued by a couple others, but that was by far the coolest looking.
Oh, yeah. By far, as far as new IPs go, that was my favorite. I mean, it had a mixture
that
of
looked
Zelda,
awesome.
Monster Hunter,
Yeah, it had a-
Tomb Raider, a little Middle Earth Shadow of
Almost
Mordor
like
I saw
Evolve
in
and
there,
Trapping the Monster. Yeah, that.
and then the
she,
whole
like-
art design.
And like I like how when she was fighting the robot, shot off the gun and like picked it up and stuff. And
Yeah, and like you said, kind of like Monster Hunter, you're collecting the parts from all the enemies you kill, and it looks pretty awesome.
now I wonder
Yeah.
what it's
I'd
going
love
to
to see more
be.
about it.
Like, is it going to be like Monster Hunter where you just roam around, or I mean, we saw cities in the distance.
I think
Are you
it's
going to
gonna have an
interact with
actual
cities?
Maybe
story. I bet
zones.
there's an actual
Well,
There'll be
yeah,
an
there
actual
always is going to be
story.
story with Sony's games.
But I think there's going to be. It's not going to be completely open world, but it'll be broken into zones. Like there's this one, and then this one. There's the because there were like old cities that had the weeds growing up, and you'll probably fight in one of those zones.
And one thing I commented on, I like the setting. It's an original. If you can be original in a post-apocalyptic way, kind of setting in that it's. You know that there was one point humanity was very advanced because there's robotic things everywhere. But at the same time, it feels very Neanderthal, kind of ancient hunter-gatherer.
So
and
how
it's,
far
and
in the
it's
future is
setting.
it?
Yeah, so it's like it's a combination of very ancient world and very futuristic world, and that's a cool setting. Like that by far was the standout game of Sony's conference for me.
Yeah, one thing we can't say, it's probably a ways off. So
it's probably like late 2016,
didn't they say
2017.
late 2016 and
I think.
Probably
it's a while away.
2017 is a safe estimate. Next, they went to Square Enix with Hitman.
Yeah,
and just
cool.
Hitman.
And see, they kind of.
And you were excited about this.
I love Hitman. And, I mean, it's not exclusive. They just had the exclusive trailer being shown.
The
But
beta.
I'm pretty, and they're getting an exclusive beta.
Yeah,
that's
and
right.
6 missions, which might be timed. We don't know, but
we don't
maybe
know.
they're total.
That's one thing with all the conferences we saw is there is exclusivity, but it's all timed because you are actually counting the numbers of full-on exclusives for Microsoft and for Sony. He said Sony's got 5 that are full-on exclusive that aren't timed, and Microsoft had 7 or 8. So it's just kind of interesting to see, what's timed. And what's not.
Sony's, there was a lot more like indies. Like they had that indie reel.
That's right. They'd have a lot more indies.
So that's not counting a lot of those. And I didn't
this
count
is just
Uncharted
the AAA
Collection.
stuff.
Of the bigger games they showed, it was like 5 or 6, and Microsoft had like 8 or 9. Some of those Microsoft ones looked dumb, like gigantic. So it was pretty even on exclusives, but most of the games were multi-platform.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I like about in a way, because Sony, even though I don't have a PS4, like 90% of what they showed, I still had a reason to be hyped for, because I'm even though I'm an Xbox One, I'm still going to get it.
And with
hype,
Hitman,
like I said, Hitman, I'm not a big stealth game guy, but I've always enjoyed the Hitman series.
Yep. Well, one game you won't be able to play.
Yeah.
Street Fighter V.
But I'm not a fan.
Ooh.
Yeah.
For me.
No,
so
I
mean,
although I can play as Ryu on Smash Bros.
Right, that's right. like when it comes
but this is huge because
Yeah.
there are
For the
people that
fighting
are
community,
die
Yeah.
hard. If you're a fighting game enthusiast, Street
Sure.
Fighter is the way to go for them.
Yeah, this is of this conference, this is their Forza. Microsoft has Forza, which is great for that small audience. This is great for that small audience that plays fighting games.
So I mean, it's for me for fighting games though. Like it's just there's certain games I like. Like I like Smash Brothers, obviously. That's more of a brawler than a fighter. But I do enjoy like Dead or Alive and Mortal Kombat, and Blaze Blue was an awesome series. But I mean, I'm not a huge fight.
It's very technical.
I've only played one, and it was the DC versus Mortal Kombat.
That game was fun too. It was corny, but it was
Yeah.
fun. It was a good game.
And then some. I played a little bit of Soul Calibur. Sure. That was about it.
Also, Also, what Sony wanted to push was No Man's Sky.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, I've just no matter how hard I try and how much I look into this game, I have no hype for this game. Like to me, all I've ever seen is you take off, you land on a planet. You take off, you land on a planet. Like,
and that's
they don't
what
really
they keep showing
and that's
too.
Exactly. They showed like a little tiny bit of combat, but every time he
Like,
lands on a planet, shoots some stuff, and then takes off.
Incredibly
I'm like,
intrigued.
I don't see anything that pulls me into that game.
But like you said, it's just the same thing, and there's no point to it yet.
Exactly. And for me, it just seems like busy work. I'm like, it just doesn't interest me.
But the art design,
the art design is beautiful. Yeah, it's a very pretty
different.
Game.
There's a couple things about it, like we still don't know when it's coming out.
Yeah, there's still no release date.
Yeah,
and
there's no even estimate.
Yeah.
And every like Sony's pushing it. They may get the exclusivity, but that's not even confirmed yet. Like it could even be time exclusive.
I was going to say, from the way that
play out.
The company's talking about it, like the company making it, when people ask them, is it coming to Microsoft, they just say, we're not at liberty to say. They're not saying no.
Yeah.
So until Sony says, we want this exclusive, I guess Sony's kind of waiting to see how it turns out. Like, if it gets great fan reaction, they're going to throw money at that company and say, we're making this exclusive. But if it's just like kind of lukewarm mediocre, then they're going to be like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, right now it's as ambiguous as Tomb Raider for Xbox One. Like, everybody's like, oh, it's timed, and other people are like, no, it's full, but nobody really knows.
Well, but they've come out, even the companies have come out and said that is timed. So unless Microsoft throws
all I've heard is that Phil Spencer said our deal lasts so long,
They're just
and we
trying
have
to
no
mask
choice.
it.
other
They
than
just
that.
don't want that
even
stigma
Square
with
Enix
it.
Square Enix makes too much.
Yeah,
right?
But-
yeah, Square Enix.
Yeah,
Yep.
they've even come out and said it is time.
Oh, they
So
did.
unless Microsoft throws money at them, but how long is it time? That's the thing. It could be time for like till after Christmas. It could be time for years. We have no idea.
Yeah, but I will say, going back to No Man's Sky, that was the Horizon was the most exciting game that I saw. That was an exclusive. No Man's Sky, for the first time, I actually really wanted it. Like
Okay.
for the last year, I just saw flying around.
And they did show some combat, so that
Yeah.
was something.
Yeah, they
new.
showed some combat, and then I know everybody was flipping out about how many stars you could go to, but
Yeah.
if you really think about the creative side of that, that's more in your mind because it's easy to make a big map of stars. Like
Okay.
it's easy to make a big map of particles and have randomly generated worlds.
Sure.
I'm not saying that's easy. Like don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but it's easier than people. I think some
Forming
people
a
are.
story,
Yeah,
like
maybe-
Uncharted, like
Yeah,
story
I think,
thing
or
going
Or like
on.
Mass Effect.
I think
sure.
people are approaching this as if it's like literally you can fly your spaceship throughout this entire galaxy the whole way, when it seems to be mostly hyperspace between these nations, or between these stars and solar systems, which is great and expansive, but it's like behind the scenes you're walking through your set piece and going to another set piece. For a metaphorical way of approaching it. I do think that honestly the funniest thing that stood out to me is when he went underwater and saw the fish. That was the first time I ever saw that in a game. I was like, that's incredible. Like, I was actually happy I
Deepest
saw...
reaches of space to
right,
in the
right.
water on the planet.
I was happy I saw enemies, which all that he said was that these were walkers that protect the planet.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's about, like, not really colonization, but, like, it's about discovering plants and stuff.
Yeah.
But I am way more interested in it now than I was last year or have been.
Yeah. Well, Media Molecule came. I'm a little tired, folks.
Media
Sorry.
Molecule.
Media, yes, came out with their next game, which hasn't been leaked or anything, which is
Yeah.
called Dreams, and
Yeah.
I was very puzzled by this.
Here's the one thing that I don't know if you guys remember when they first were showing off the PS4. Media Molecule came out and said, "Look what we're doing," and they had PlayStation Moves.
Yeah.
And they were
Yeah.
dancing with these clay characters. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of like what spun off of that.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of Project
good point.
Spark. Because all it is instead of making games like you're doing Project Spark or, even like Little Big Planet in a sense, this one you are just pretty much making cinematics. You're making these dream cinematics that people can watch and kind of interact with, but it's not like pretty much what Media Molecules come out and said is that this is an interactive experience. They're not really calling it a game.
Sure.
So they're trying to push what people think games are.
I think there might be some like game creating in it, but it's gonna be basically like Project Spark. It's really the equivalent of it.
You're going to get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah, and
so I'm not really good at creating stuff.
I know,
And that's why I'm not that hyped about Mario Maker either, which we'll talk about when we get to Nintendo later.
Yeah,
but I'm not good at making stuff.
I downloaded Project Spark and tried a couple levels. Some people made some interesting things, but it's it's one of those games. Even Little Big Planet, which is probably what I would think is the biggest like game popularity wise where you created stuff and shared it. Even that is only like after so long, and I don't know, that was one of the weaker announcements I think they had was the Dreams thing.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Next, this game I really did not know much about, but Firewatch.
Yeah,
and
that
it looked
actually sounds-
intriguing.
yeah.
Interesting,
Like
yeah.
you're a
That's
park
another
ranger,
timed
and you're like,
exclusive,
there seems to be other plot devices in it. Like, I'm talking to somebody, but wait, there's someone in the
tower.
that we
Yeah.
didn't know about.
It's almost like a, I don't know if it's a murder mystery or like you're a park.
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
really
cool.
But it looked cartoony too.
Exactly.
Like the art,
yeah.
it
And
looks
that actually
good.
looks really cool. And that's one that, like I
Intrigued.
said, I think they said it was time exclusive as well. So I'm definitely really interested in that.
Yep. Next, we have Destiny,
Yeah.
the Taken King DLC,
Yeah, they're
which
talking
is
about
exclusive
that's
for
timed
times.
exclusive. That's time
yeah.
exclusive. And Destiny, like I was saying before, that's the game that I just never got into. Like because all my friends got into it and they all got super far ahead, so I've got literally no interest in getting into it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean they always say you got to be level 20, and
You got to
for
be
me,
pretty high level. You got to put a lot of time into that before you can even get to the higher.
Obviously, I'm a huge Halo fan, so Bungie in its history, I'm a huge fan of. But once they made Destiny, they basically said the thing that made Halo good and long-standing, the story, we're taking out. Like, that's basically what they did. They took out story
Kind
of Destiny, and they made it better in what you do and more expansive in your interaction. But, like, the story was what I play Bungie games for. Yeah. Like, I liked the sci-fi feel. I like the universe feel. Like, they did a great job with the Halo series. I was expecting that out of Destiny.
Sure.
And there was nothing there. Yeah. So I just... I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate came back out again.
You've already seen, this is the third time we've seen it.
And they showed the woman this time, though.
Yeah.
There's two playable
Evie.
characters.
Yeah, they showed Evie this time.
And they're going to have exclusive missions for Sony.
We didn't see Hugh Jackman.
And a lot of the announcements they had, I actually was in my predictions. I said Sony's going to have a lot of just exclusive DLC. And a lot of it's timed DLC. Now, the Assassin's Creed is actually full-on exclusive missions, where the Destiny was timed.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But... I mean, it's another Assassin's Creed. So.
Exactly. More on Assassin's Creed.
We've talked about it.
It looks good.
We've talked about it, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Next, and it's coming to the Vita. This is the first Vita game, PS4 too, but World of Final Fantasy.
Which looked very bizarre. It's like a mishmash of all these Final Fantasy games with like these little tiny, like...
They have Cloud, they had Squall, they had...
I didn't know
other
what you
from
did.
Final
did you
Fantasy
battle?
VI.
Did you build stuff?
I don't. They didn't really show. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they did, but we probably didn't.
There
read
isn't
that
much
into
known.
It.
It could be like a take on an MMO, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But at the time, we don't know much. Final Fantasy. Then
when this happened,
this
Brant. Okay, go ahead and say what it is first.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII Remaster.
Now, when this happened, Brant stood up and said, we're shoving this in all your stupid Microsoft faces, and like he was so serious.
Like,
he was hyped up, going,
I
you
was
guys
that
suck
hyped
so bad. And then they said it wasn't even exclusive.
They were like, first on PS4, and we're like,
oh man,
hilarious. He's like, in your face.
I was like, this is it. This is your backwards compatibility crap thrown in your face.
It was so funny. We're like, there's not even exclusive.
Yeah, but we did have
it's limits. Yeah, time.
We did have a nice talk about the game itself, though, because we don't know if they're going to change
a straight port or are they adding anything.
Well, it won't be a straight port, obviously, because they're so different.
It just might be
I'm just saying, like combat and all that.
The graphics of PS4 mixed with
and Xbox One.
Yeah.
Just saying.
yeah. Sony conference, my friend. But it might be the graphics, but same gameplay, same story.
Right.
And but and we don't. Hopefully they don't throw in like.
About it.
Hopefully they don't throw in Final Fantasy 13 gameplay and replace the gameplay. Like you got to keep the core gameplay.
It's crazy that this is real, though. I mean, I did not think that this was a possibility at all. Yeah. So I'm just happy it's coming out.
Sure.
I mean,
I was gonna say it's kind of like what Andrew Goldfarb tweeted when they were talking about we were watching Kind of Funny afterwards. Yeah. And Andrew Goldfarb tweeted that. Is the Sony PlayStation conference all fan fiction? Because it was Last Guardian and Final Fantasy VII and all these, and we'll get to another one soon. And it's just like all these things that people have been talking about for years, like 10 years, and they're all coming true this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Next, we have Devolver Interactive, which they do a ton of. They did Hotline Miami and games like that. They showed off this highlight reel of like Ronin, EITR, Mother Russia Bleeds, Crossing Souls, which they had like it looked like the brawler genre for a few.
They're all different genres. Like, it's pretty cool.
What are they?
Action.
Are they like a developer that does indie type games?
Yeah, it's all indie, and it has that really nice pixelated graphics. Like if you did you play Hotline Miami?
Oh, I never got to play that.
Yeah, it looks like that. Super hyper violent.
And they never said it was exclusive on those. I mean, because I think I'm trying to. Well, was Hotline Miami PlayStation exclusive? I can't remember.
It was on.
Even
I can't
remember.
I think it was on. It was on PC. It was on PC. Okay. I don't think it was on 360.
I couldn't remember.
But yeah. I mean, I was happy to hear about this. I mean, they look.
We saw very, very small glimpses of them, and it's hard to.
But what we saw,
and more Vita love there.
Yeah, what we saw was good because it was like they're covering all these different genres, which is nice.
Right. Yeah.
Next talking point, another franchise back from the dead, Shenmue, and this has been a long time coming.
We had a nice long conversation during the conference,
and we were going to save the rest of it for here.
Because with this, the way they're not developing it like a normal game. All they did was come out and said Sony said we are kickstarting this. They are kickstarting
their own Kickstarter.
They're doing their own Kickstarter for this, and if it gets kickstarted, it's coming to PS4 and PC exclusively. And so, Matt and I were kind of talking about. Brant totally disagrees with this, but like for me, when I heard that news, it kind of made me like kind of sick to my stomach, thinking they're just using Kickstarter to the advantage of the fans, just for the fact that if Sony really believed in this game, why didn't they just back it themselves? Why are they making the fans pay for everything? That way, Sony has no they have no what do you want to say? They've got nothing in the game on it. If they lose out, oh well, it doesn't matter.
But it works like any other Kickstarter. Like you put your money, you put your $60 down bucks, you're getting the game.
But here's the thing with Kickstarter: they say, okay, if we make our goal, then we're going to add the Xbox One version. Then we're going to add the Wii U version.
They don't always do it, but yeah.
But for majority of
and that's what we don't know. And what if they meet the goal and they just cut it off?
They can't do that because Kickstarter it doesn't get shut off by goal.
But there has
it gets
to
shut
be
off by day, and it's until like the end of July, I think. So we've got like a month and a half.
Because where would all that money? I mean,
exactly,
it could
that's what I'm saying. Where's that? If Sony
unless it does
just
kick off.
They can't just stop it, though. That's not the way Kickstarter works.
Yeah.
And
it's
so
interesting to hear about.
That's why I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen. Like, you're right. Who draws the line on this? If it goes way over its budget, where's all that money going? Because it's only going to cost them so much to make Shenmue 3. And, I mean, it's going to be exclusive to PS4 and PC. But what happens to all that extra money?
And then afterwards,
who's gonna pocket it?
And afterwards, those who didn't even kickstart it will buy it, and all that money goes to
Sony.
Straight
to exactly. And so Sony
is
the only one benefiting from this.
What I got from that was I tried to pull it out and look at it from another perspective.
Yeah,
good for you.
I tried to say
me with my Final Fantasy VII.
I tried to look at it and say. And you're still not gonna like what I say. I'll say it this way.
No.
But imagine you guys seen Shark Tank, right? That show.
Yeah, exactly.
Show's great.
Imagine somebody comes up with this idea for like a cool type of. I remember a few years ago hearing about this boy that invented like a breakaway hanger or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know if it was on. Now imagine they come up with this idea, and Shark Tank. Those people are millionaires, wherever they invest. What if they turn around and say, that's a great idea, but instead of us investing in making that product come to life, why don't we throw that out to the people in the United States and say, if you guys want this product,
pay for
why don't you all invest in it, and then we'll sell it.
And then the Shark Tank money make all
the Shark Tank people make
money
all
the money. Yeah.
And people dog Microsoft all the time, and sometimes justifiably.
Like Bobby from the Geek Guru.
Yeah,
gotta throw that in there.
I was gonna say,
are you watching? Not
people
anymore.
dog them for throwing their money around to get exclusives and stuff like that. Yeah, that's true. But this is kind of, if you really look at it, kind of just as cheap. It's nice. I will say the other side of it. The other side of it is it's very nice for that maker. That maker wanted to make that game.
And it's getting made.
And Sony said, here's how we're going to help you get that game made. We're going to make it known.
But how come Sony gets the PS4 exclusivity?
Well, they're doing it because they're having that relationship, and I think they just wanted to make it for PS4.
But here's the thing that doesn't make any sense. The original Shenmue 1 and 2 was on, Shenmue 1 was on Dreamcast. I think Shenmue 2 was also on Dreamcast. Yeah. And then they brought it over to Xbox. And so it was never on Sony. It was always on Dreamcast and Xbox. So how are they bringing fans over if they're putting it on PS4?
It's all about relationships.
Exactly, but I'm just trying to figure out...
Who wants this thing to be funded?
Yeah, so why couldn't the creator of Shenmue... Because Shenmue is...
Yeah, the guy... I don't understand why he just didn't.
Exactly. If Shenmue is big enough and they knows the fan base is there, he could have easily done this all by himself.
Oh, it would have been easy.
Look at Mighty Number 9. Look at Bloodstained. All these and like Ukulele. They didn't have Sony backing. They didn't have Microsoft backing. They did it on their own, and they blew their goals out of the water.
It doesn't make sense.
So why does this one specifically have to be backed by Sony?
I think it's a new type of deal. Like in the past, Microsoft said, we gave this much money to buy Minecraft. We gave this much money to pay for Tomb Raider exclusivity for a year. We don't know how much. We paid this much money. And people were, this is new. This is Sony not even saying, we're paying for this, but we're establishing this relationship by giving him the exposure he needs to create the game.
Sure.
So it's a new type of deal to be made. The only problem I have with it is I liken it to that Shark Tank thing. Yeah. I feel like for people who have the money to invest, there's no risk for them.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, exactly.
That's kind of it's kind of hard now to support that and at the same time dog Microsoft spending money on exclusives. I think you can either love them both or hate them both. Sure. But it's hard now to really choose one.
Okay. Before we get deeper into this whole, sir, what
else we could go on forever for this, honestly.
Well, that's what we think. Let us know what you guys think in the comments down below. or hit us up on Facebook or Twitter at Life of Gaming Pod. So
very
let us know what you guys think about that.
Well, Batman came on next,
Batman.
Arkham Knight.
That's right, exclusive Scarecrow DLC.
And it was really interesting because it
First
went in the first person. You were a cop, Scarecrow Nightmare exclusive missions.
Did you play as Jim Gordon?
No,
it
was
just a cop.
It was just a cop.
Oh.
Some guy, maybe
Some
guy, some guy in the lore in the universe.
That kind of makes me feel like I don't know much about Arkham Knight because I haven't played since Arkham Asylum. I never played Arkham City.
It was pretty.
Arkham City, I thought was a lot better. Personally, I liked Arkham City better.
Yeah, but with that, I know they've got more expansive in DLC, and you play as different characters and stuff like you play as Catwoman in Arkham City. Is this even involving different aspects of the world? Like, same world, but all of a sudden you're a cop in first person, and then you're Batman in third person? How is it?
We'll find out when we get there.
It looked terrifying, though, honestly. They did a really good... I had, like, some Silent Hill things going on, like changing environments.
It looked pretty cool,
Anyway, then they finally got to the Morpheus talk.
And they just sort of...
things slowed down.
Here's where we hit the lull of the show. This is where things got kind of...
But they didn't spend too much time on it, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, exactly.
They had games like Riggs, Eve Valkyrie, Wayward Sky, a few others.
I mean, because they hit Morpheus and they hit some apps like Spotify, and like they just did these little things.
Right.
They did them really fast, which was nice. Because in the old Sony would have done a Wonder Book on us, and they would have been
Powers or something.
Exactly. So it was kind of nice that they did that pretty quickly.
Yep. And then...
And it looks good enough. I mean...
Yep.
They didn't spend too much time on it. They just wanted to say, hey, this is here. Yeah. Call of Duty came on next, and I guess Sony has the rights to this. Call of Duty 3 Black Ops.
Yeah, they get an exclusive DLC on that.
Exclusive.
What?
Isn't it time exclusive?
I thought they got full-on exclusive.
Or
Maybe
did they get full-on?
I bet it is timed exclusive because I think all the Xbox stuff was timed.
Sure, it's all timed.
Now, one thing we were talking about when we were watching the show, though, seeing all these other amazing-looking games and then seeing Call of Duty is really starting to show its age.
It used to be the trendsetter.
It was.
And
Call of Duty was the bar to meet, and now it's like I feel like it's kind of
it's plateaued. It has nowhere else to go unless it's actually real. So
it's still gonna sell.
Oh yeah,
I think it'll slowly die down. It's not gonna have a Guitar Hero thing, but it's gonna slowly die down. Mm-hmm. But it's
sure.
So we'll see.
They went into a summer just highlighting a bunch of games, which they do.
And they actually showed on Vita. They showed Vita games.
Yeah, they had like a small. It was like funny because it was like a few seconds.
Yeah.
And then after that,
some of the games they showed in that reel though could have been big things to focus on for at least a few more seconds. The Uncharted Collection, that's
that sort of just slipped by.
Yeah,
exactly.
They
just like
say more?
I would have preferred to hear more about Uncharted Collection than to see two demos of, or at least like a single player and a multiplayer of Call of Duty.
Yeah, this shows
like I would have preferred to see that.
I thought they stuck on Call of Duty a little too long because they're like, we finally have. Well, here's the thing with PlayStation, what they're doing right now. They're making a big deal about having exclusive stuff for Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed. But I feel like both of those franchises are starting to die down a little bit. They've already peaked.
They're catching them on the tail end.
Yeah, and so I feel like it's not as big of a deal.
It's like the Yankees picking up these players past their primes and just using
or
them.
the Dodgers.
Right.
But they showed until dawn. Not much. I wish they would have showed more because that's coming. That's inevitable.
They paused and showed more, like 10, 15 seconds of it.
Yeah, and then they went to the Star Wars section.
But they didn't start. I actually tweeted something, and I was like, "Oop!" I tweeted a little too soon. They said Star Wars, I'm like, "Oh, Star Wars Battlefront," blah 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 blah. And it's like Star Wars Disney Infinity. I'm like
3.0.
This was probably the lowest for me, the lowest point overall
of the show. Yeah, because I mean, none of us played Disney Infinity, and me personally, like I've got amiibos, and the quality of the amiibos, and when I saw the Star Wars characters, they like just the style. They tried to make them fit within the Disney Infinity universe, and I just didn't like the animated style they used for the amiibo.
Yeah, right.
I was called amiibo.
But it was they were definitely misleading though, because they tried to be like, we have this huge partnership with Sony
for a month. It's like, it's so funny.
We got
then
these
they say something like
figures for a month.
Yeah. It's like we've.
That was really funny.
That was so funny. This is awesome. We have it. For a month. And it's going to be so great for a month.
And then the claps died down after that. Awkward.
But then we got to the big Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, and then they show Battlefront again.
This is the
second time I see this, I just... It makes me want it more. I'm not even... Like it's an online game.
Because I'm not a Fallout fan, I am so
this
excited
might be
to
the
put
game
my
you get in
pre-order money on
November.
Battlefront.
Yeah.
Like, this is my November game, along with probably Tomb Raider. But, like, usually most people get a couple games in the holidays.
Sure.
Halo I've already paid off,
Yep.
but Battlefront.
Yeah, and they should.
Yeah.
It looked
It's
like
gonna be
good.
Tatooine or somewhere. It's like a battle we don't know about.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it should be awesome.
Yep.
And they ended. Well, their conference ended kind of strange.
It
like
was
in a
really
couple different ways,
awkward.
Like, thank you for coming. This is great. One more thing.
And usually that's a good ending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we knew they were going to end with Uncharted because they didn't have any of the big games we could think of.
Yeah.
And they started the demo, and then Nathan Drake was going.
Well,
And like, he wanted
just
this movie.
resting.
first
like,
it didn't
yeah,
start
was
for like
resting.
10 seconds. Like, it
Yeah.
was just the black shirt. It was longer than that.
Yeah,
It was
it
like
did.
something was
30
wrong.
seconds.
Something was wrong.
Then it started, had a nice cutscene.
And then Nathan Drake did
He's
move,
like-
and we're all sitting like, what's going on here? And
But if
then
you
the
look,
whole,
the whole environment was moving nicely.
Oh, yeah.
and
Once it
then
got
the whole
going, it was
demo
beautiful.
got turned off and reset.
I
Oh,
will
yeah,
say, I played Uncharted 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
1 and 2 I loved. 3 died for me towards the end because they got really different.
Yeah.
And I lost connection with the boss, whereas the other two games you were kind of mostly with them. That
Sure.
one, like for 10 chapters, I lost connection with them. That's what kind of ruined it. But the environment looks so much better. The character models didn't.
Yeah.
The character
man.
models didn't.
All the stuff exploding when you're driving over
all
it.
that stuff looks so much
No,
better.
I agree. But one thing I even said as soon as it started, I was like, Sully looks younger. Like he almost like he looked like got Botox or something. Because like his character model, he just looked like. In the other games, looked like grizzled and old. And like in this one, I felt like he just looked younger. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was.
And there were small physics things, and it's early. It's not coming out till next year.
Yep.
But there were small physics things that I noticed that were in other games that we were seeing that they were showing off that weren't in this. Like when the car was driving through the water, there wasn't much like
there's no
splash
splashing,
effects,
which was kind of strange.
Which
I didn't
that
I mean, there was a little
exists.
bit, but yeah, it
It-
wasn't
some
like
things
how
were-
it would be.
No, it was pretty. But
Yeah, the game looked really pretty. I mean, don't get us wrong. It looked like a really pretty game.
it
And
was
Uncharted
pretty
4
like
is going to be
here, but there
absolutely
were a couple
awesome.
other games we saw that were here.
Yeah, so we were kind of nitpicking a little bit just
Yeah.
because this is like the big Sony game.
Right.
And then when
And
it ended,
there's a
and
lot
then
of
when it-
expectations.
Yeah, and then when it ended, you expect someone to come out and say, "Thanks for coming."
No, but
you know?
the
and it
guy was just
ended.
sitting. No,
Yeah.
it showed one of the developers just sitting there. Then he got
the-
up and just
he
walked.
got
He
up, set
looked
the
like
controller
disappointed
down.
because
Yeah.
there was an error.
And he walked away, and that was it. And then like
Like
people started
maybe
going,
he had something to say and he just was
think about it,
upset,
yeah.
so he just walked
Well,
off.
think
It's
about
really
it.
strange.
Think about it if there was a flow, because the guy actually did say that whoever it was that
Yeah.
came up for him, he did say, "This is our last thing. Thank you for coming." He did actually
Yeah, but
say
I
that.
felt like there should have been just someone saying, "Hey, thanks for checking on Uncharted."
Yeah,
next
it
year."
was really
Anything.
weird.
But it was just like this abrupt ending. It was very weird.
Yeah.
But like honestly, with Sony, I mean, it started on such a high note.
Oh,
and like
it was-
for a Sony conference, normally Sony has these really long, slow parts where they talk about statistics, or they like to do the Wonder Book thing.
was
or-
better.
And
It was
this
better.
one, it felt like it had good flow almost the entire way through. There was a very
Exactly.
short, small part in there, but what do you guys
Yeah,
think
what
about?
great grades, gentlemen. James?
Okay, sure, I'll start. Honestly, right now, I feel like they had the best conference. Part of it, like I said, though, is because like 90% I know I'm getting. So they showed
Yeah.
a lot of really good stuff. I don't know, man. What I'm trying to think. I gave Bethesda like an A, right?
You gave it Bethesda, you gave an A.
I think I'll give this an A as well, but
Wow.
like it's the same thing like an A. It's a couple points higher of an A.
What did you give Microsoft? I can't
I
remember.
think
It's like
A
B
minus,
plus.
A minus, B plus.
I was
Okay,
the
can't
I was the
remember.
only one
Yeah,
who gave
B
them a
plus.
I should have
90.
written this down.
I gave,
yeah.
We'll have to go back and
I
watch
was the
your
only one who gave
videos.
Microsoft a 93%. Remember,
That's
like
right,
just
that's
an A,
right,
and
yeah.
both you guys gave B plus.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, like Microsoft was awesome. I mean, they honestly the only person with a bad conference of art was EA.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, by
EA.
far.
And honestly, like Microsoft and Sony both had really good conferences.
Yeah.
Honestly, and Ubisoft had a great conference too.
Yeah.
But and Bethesda for being the first conference ever, they had great. So I mean, it
Yeah,
was,
that was
But
awesome.
what would you give it, sir?
I would give it A minus.
Okay.
I felt like you said, it hit all the right notes, but
Yeah.
it just I don't know.
Maybe I'll give it A minus. Well, just because that Kickstarter thing rubbed me the wrong way. That's the only thing that really bothered me about the whole show. Is that
Yeah.
but other than that.
Yeah.
I mean, where most people out there are like, yeah, Shenmue, we're like, this is kind of cheap. Like,
Yeah,
that's-
yeah. So I don't know. We'll
But,
see.
I would actually, I'm looking at it, and obviously there's always going to be bias from us. You know,
Sure.
wherever.
Well, yeah.
But
No, we all kind of have our fan.
we all kind of have our bias.
Sure.
But I look at it in the long terms of things, what I would enjoy, and there were about the same amount of games shown at this as Microsoft.
Yeah.
Microsoft, I think, had 2 games that were lower than anything else, and that was that Gigantic and oh shoot, there was something else Microsoft had that was pretty low.
Yeah.
And I didn't see anything as low in this. But
Dreams was about
Dreams, Dreams, and then the
we
Disney
know nothing about that.
the Disney Infinity stuff.
Yeah,
but,
that's true.
But I think there were a lot of good things to enjoy. I think what does harpen it is there's not anything coming out this year, and a lot of it is very ambiguous.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's what I was going to say. Why I lowered my grade, because we don't know. There was no resolution. It was like 2016. Okay.
Like it was a good introduction. I mean, Last
exactly.
Guardian we finally saw. That new Guerrilla game is one of the best new IPs I've seen. But within the next year of gaming, which is what E3 is supposed to show, what am I going to play over the next year? Obviously, I don't have a PS4, but if I had a PS4, what would I play? I mean, most of it's multi-plat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great stuff, some time stuff, but they're pretty on equal footing. So I would give it an A-, about the same what I gave Xbox. I feel like if you have an Xbox, you're happy for the next year. If you have a PS4, you're happy.
Yeah, there's no loser.
Exactly, and like I
much.
said, almost all the conferences, like 90% of it was all multi-plat anyway. So most of what you watch at Microsoft, Josh, most of it you're still going to play on your PlayStation.
Right.
So most of what we saw at PlayStation, we're still going to play
It's just going to be timed.
And so really what I felt so far, because I mean, we still have to talk about Nintendo and Square Enix tomorrow.
Yeah, we don't want to shout at Nintendo like every other entertainment company.
But,
we love Nintendo.
Right. But I feel like no matter what happens,
I do like
over the next few years, I feel like we're hitting the stride now in this console generation, because I feel like 2016, 2017 is going to be amazing. Because this is going to be the high point of this console generation. So no matter what happens, I think it's going to be awesome.
I do have a question for you guys. This is the last one of the night, and obviously this is our longest probably reflection.
Right.
Of all the games you've seen from every conference, Microsoft, EA, Ubisoft, this one, what one game stands out to you the most as of now?
Sure.
Because, and this is tough, because some games just show a CGI trailer that are intriguing.
Yeah.
Some show intriguing gameplay. We don't know much about it. Some we know a lot about, and it looks really nice. So, which ones?
Man, put me on the spot,
That's a good
man.
question. I think I'll go first. My natural instinct is... Yeah, to say Final Fantasy VII, but we know very little about that. I'm going to say the biggest impact, just watching Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
From going to no hype to just, wow, man, I might need to own this game.
Right.
I mean, that game made the biggest jump to me.
Sure.
It really makes me want to play it, honestly.
Yeah.
Man, for me, that's a good question, because there's a lot of the games I'm hyped for, like Mirror's Edge, I know it's going to be awesome. And like there's other games where they were just like CG trailers, didn't show us a lot. The one with the gameplay, I'm like, this is going to be awesome. Gears 4.
Yeah, that
Gears 4 looks gorgeous, and it's still years away. And they haven't been working on that long, and when I was watching that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to play this game. So, for me, I guess it would probably be Gears 4.
Yeah. I think for me, if I just went on pure like rush level, it'd be South Park.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
but
that's a good one.
But that didn't really show much other than we're working on like a new game, and it's funny and stuff. I would say that
butthole.
That is so awesome.
I would say actually, my instinct is to go back to Halo 5 because I love the story so much, and we got to see more of it.
Yeah.
But everything was so revealed. As far as like impact, I'm honestly, for an Xbox guy, that Horizon for Sony. That's still blown me away. Like,
that game looks
even more than Last
so
Guardian.
unexpected too.
I feel like in the end, Last Guardian is going to get the big push.
Yeah.
But that game looks so much better than Last Guardian.
I agree, absolutely.
Like, Last Guardian looks interesting. But there's not much to it.
The only thing that worries me about that game is, like, I played through Killzone and things like that. And they're all okay. Like, I've never played a Guerrilla game that's blown me away. That's why I didn't put that game as my number one. I put Gears 4 because I know what I'm getting. I know I love Gears. I know it looked great. I know there's new enemies now. There's all the things about it I'm super excited about. With Horizon, though, just from my history with Guerrilla games, I don't know. Like, it's up in the air. So
I would say that or For Honor for me. For Honor really stood out to me.
And then we can't forget about Fallout 4.
Oh, yeah, Fallout 4. Dude, how can I forget Fallout?
Those are, I think, Star Wars and Fallout were
I guess you're right. For me,
for
for today, Gears 4. Yesterday, Fallout all the way.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, well, I guess we will end the show today. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. We're all tired.
That's right. It's been a long day.
Yeah. My beard is furling up here, ready to make a bed, like a pillow out of my head.
Right.
So thank you for joining us. Check out our page, Facebook, Twitter, leave messages.
Pod. That's right.
Yes.
And guys, make sure to stick around because for us, I mean, it's going to be a long time until we film another one, but for you guys, it's going to be instant. So make sure you stick around, check us out, and check out Nintendo.
Yes. Thank you.
See you soon.